All right. My talk is titled Owning Leadership Possibilities, which is pretty bold. Who do I think I am giving a talk like this? Do I think I'm a great leader? Am I a great leader? I don't know. Some days I think I do okay. Some other days are pretty rough. But one thing I have finally figured out in my leadership journey, and I want to share with you, and I want you to internalize, you have every bit as much a right to be a great leader as anyone you work with, for, anyone who shows up in the chat, or whom you admire. Leadership doesn't have to do with title or seniority. It comes from within. It's not ordained from above. I believe that. To slightly alter a quote from the great song Gold Watch by Chicago hip hop artist Lupe Fiasco, the wings don't make you fly, and the crown don't make you queen. You have the choice to show up as a leader every day. You have a choice to show up as a leader today, if you believe that you have that right. But if you do want to show up as a leader at any level, it's a thing. Leadership is shown and earned daily. It's necessarily a reflective practice. Great leaders are curious, caring, daring, decisive. You probably have pictures of the great leaders who you admire in your mind right now. Great leaders are not rigid or regressive or charading as smarter or somehow better than other people. Leaders, and by that I mean people cultivating a leadership mentality, should think about things like establishing vision, setting strategy, setting the course, modeling excellence, making a difference, and their own and others' well-being as well. Leadership at any level is an inward, personal journey as much as an outward one. And believe me when I say I'm on that journey with you. In essence, I believe that leadership is at its core about listening, learning, and creating change. And that's what I want to talk to you about for the next few minutes: listening, learning, and changing. I experienced a lot of change professionally over the last year. How about you? A bunch of it was sparked from 2023 of CoLab, as a matter of fact, which is great because that's what our intention here is, to spark change. I'm going to reflect on a few stories from my past year's journey of my own learning and acting and listening and changing. And I hope that there are some things in these stories that are relatable to you and that inspire us to right here, right now, start imagining how we might be changed by each other today and tomorrow, opening a path into the stories that we want to tell ourselves and each other in one more year's time. So, as I fill in this blank over the next few minutes, I want you to participate in the CoLab spirit. If I say something that resonates with you, give me some snaps on the chat. Show me a little bit of energy, participation. If you hear something that you're not sure of, let me know about that as well. And then let's send each other these signals throughout CoLab the next couple of days. Continue to do that throughout the conference. Those sparks of recognition and reaction that you throw out will fuel our conversations. All right, so how has my leadership changed? How have I changed? Last year at CoLab, we identified orthodoxies and challenged our limiting beliefs about our us versus them mentality. And we talked about cross-functional leadership. And I listened, I learned, and I changed. Sarah's going to talk about the relationship of the victim mentality to us versus them thinking shortly. But I want to tell you about my experience letting go of another cousin of that mindset, internalized inferiority, which I accomplished by confronting myself 10 years in the past. I had occasion to do so by reflecting on a paper that I co-wrote with the wonderful Yoni Karpman back in 2014. It was called Little Data, Big Data, and Design at LinkedIn. We co-wrote it and co-presented it at the EPIC conference, the ethnographic, which stands for the Ethnographic Praxis and Industry Conference, if you're not familiar with it, in 2014. This paper, which I am still very, very proud of, it did rely heavily on underdog parables, such as David and Goliath, the Trojan horse, and the lion and the mouse, to describe how to gain traction as a research team. This relies on things like a well-placed blow, tricks, or being a savior to unlock potential. It was so cathartic in my talk this year to move away from parables that make us small and instead embrace powerful, active parables of self-recognition, internalized power, and transformation, like the phoenix. This is important because the thing about internalized inferiority is that when you're a leader, it's not internal. You owe it to yourself and the people around you to sort it out. So if you ever have a chance to confront yourself in the past and examine some of the things that you've said, I highly recommend it as a pathway to change. All right, in other news, how has my team changed? This is very related, but as I mentioned, I recently became a cross-functional leader myself, and I'm now the head of UX, so the combined research and design teams here at DScout. None of that would have been possible without the strong leadership and talent on these teams that are already in place, so shout out to my team. But in any case, this is a mind-blowing development for me, requiring a confession and an apology today. The confession is, I didn't think I had permission to be a leader of anything beyond research. And because of that, I didn't really think others did either. I owe one of our upcoming speakers an apology. When John Garvey was on my team at LinkedIn, I didn't really understand or support his dream to be a design leader because of my own limiting beliefs. John is now a design manager at Uber and is going to come to you with some of his most incredible thoughts in a few, later on today. But this change, becoming a hybrid leader, a cross-functional team leader, has unlocked so much potential for us at DScout, and I am learning so much. You're going to hear from John and others today about their stories of expanding influence. And here's your provocative thought. Why is research comfortable to be managed and directed by design, product, or engineering, but we don't always feel that we are qualified to manage and direct these teams ourselves? Guess what? We are. Newsflash to myself on that one. But my team has evolved in other ways as well, as I've adopted lessons from CoLab and so many conversations with so many of you, hopefully here today and beyond. Things like focusing more on ROI and business impact, insight integration across the organization, and extracting ourselves from the democratization trap. We have gotten better at setting goals directly tied to our company's OKRs, assessing and reporting the business impact of our research, and establishing a better understanding of company metrics. We've also expanded our ability to do more research across the organization with our so-called powdered donut program. Powdered, of course, being people who do research. See what we did there. And an increasingly research without borders mentality. DScout has changed too. Our company has, our primary vector of change, of course, is you. Our customers, our users, and anyone in the industry who will talk to us, share feedback, tell their stories. Our platform has changed and evolved and improved so much in the past year. And again, you can hear more about that tomorrow. But one thing I do want to call out is that we are hearkening back to DScout's early design roots and really embracing today's post-democratization debate reality. This means focusing more on supporting design and designers to do quality research. We even sponsored Config this year in San Francisco, which is the picture you see here. And we're very excited to do that again next year. So we already have a lot of designers working in DScout already, and we are so excited to welcome more as we continue our pathway into collaboration and empowerment between research and design. All right, so how has our field changed? Before I get into the changes afoot in our field, a word about this bizarre image I've confronted you with. I really have been enjoying using AI to create images for my presentations lately. So here's one for you. You're welcome. I guess this was supposed to be us as a community reflecting on all the changes in our industry and working together to move forward. We have very good posture, I've noticed. All right. So our fields, UX, research, design, insights, product, continue to change a lot. And we continue to try to figure that out. There's more scrutiny and more pressure to become a mature business function. We do look very business-like in this picture, actually, don't we? More demand for data. There's your chart on the right and the left. More emphasis on the importance of design. More need for human-centered insights. And yet it feels like, and is like in many places still, a real squeeze on resources. Meanwhile, AI is changing the way we all work and what we work on. At CoLab in 2023, we talked a lot about the job bubble bursting in tech, a predicted return to mean, and we have seen a slow, steady, but uneven growth. And of course, reckonings. You see that in the poster there. Judd is going to return to the reckoning. If you're not familiar with Judd's article, the UX reckoning is here. Well, I'm sure you've heard the term. Every single industry conference I've attended in the last 18 months, it's been referred to. It's pretty inescapable, and that's because it's important. It's an important concept. But the word itself has become shorthand for so many dynamics in our industries and so much discussed, it's kind of losing its meaning a little bit. And he and I jokingly refer to it sometimes as the R word from time to time, much like I kind of use the D word instead of democratization. But in any case, many of the talks you're going to hear in the next 2 days are perspectives on all these changes. So I'm going to leave it to them. But I have one more slide I want to share with you that captures something I've been pondering, and I hope it resonates or at least provokes. All right. One strong signal of change from this year that I've been thinking a lot about, want to talk about today, is that the continuous discovery bell rang. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the term continuous discovery, it's kind of a generic term in some ways, but Teresa Torres, a product management leader, packaged it up and popularized the practice of what she calls the empowered product trio. That's product management, design, and engineering, speaking to users on a regular basis. She codified continuous discovery into a quasi-research practice, a movement, and a very successful brand and business. This has been somewhat controversial, but that's totally beside the point for today. I believe that its success and momentum speak to a larger and very relevant trend that we need to pay attention to. And Dave Hora has written about this on his excellent blog as well, too, about the unbundling of research, or a shift from research-led projects to product team-led discovery, and the implications of that for our field. This, together with AI taking on some of the more tedious, time-consuming tasks, can, if we choose, have a very liberating effect on research functions and the way they operate within design and within product organizations, if we can shift our thinking a little bit. So, as I set up this talk, I spoke about leadership being about listening and learning and changing. Leadership is, of course, also about making decisions, especially at the highest levels of the company. People really want help making the best decisions that they can to drive the business. Decisions drive organizations. And this is informed by both near-field listening. These are things like feedback loops, NPS or Net Promoter Score, customer satisfaction scores, sales insights, usage and behavioral data, social listening, things like that. As well, decisions are also driven by deep learning. These are things like ethnographic investigations, foundational research, segmentations, personas, journey maps, really deep, thoughtful, long-term learning. These elements, listening and learning, must work together in harmony. I think many of us have been there. When you're just listening without the learning, it results in kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and kind of a fire drilly mentality. You're just chasing things around, right? And if we're learning without listening, it results in pursuing unrealistic aims. We don't have anywhere to go with these insights. There's nowhere to put them. So I think our companies are brimming with listening signals and more of these research activity, continuous discovery type of activities. And hopefully, ideally, also have research functions creating structured learning. Research needs to support all of these activities and integrate listening and learning effectively to drive decisions. The more quickly we can show leadership in this direction with our teams and with ourselves, the more we can own our futures. This is a shift, or maybe an evolution, and how we think about our work. But many of the talks you hear, many of the speakers you'll hear from today are already moving in this direction. This is our leadership possibility and my provocation. Incorporate listening signals into learning structures. What does that require of us? It requires cooperation, sense making, critical thinking, imagination, and more. Drive decisions. Get creative with how you gather and employ data and insight throughout your organization. Don't just run projects. So that's my little run through of some of the ways that I've changed and some of the things I'm thinking about in the past year. And as the next 2 days unfold, I want you to think about your own, how the ideas and conversations will change you at these various levels.